Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the companion, the Helminth Charger. So about a month or two ago now, pets were reworked, and that's why we've been going through a lot of the pets in the game. We're going to continue to go through the pets in the game until we're done with all of them. And today's the Helminth Charger. Top commenter of the last video, and the first commenter of the last video is Adam37. And the recent supporters are Johnny, Eddie, and Lovio. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, let's go into the Helminth Charger here. We got Big Chungus. He's a Helminth Charger here today. We gave him the little Christmas hat. So there's a little bit of a weird acquisition to the Helminth Charger. I'm going to briefly go over it, but it's a little bit complicated, and I would actually encourage you to use the wiki to also look at the acquisition, just because I probably will miss like one or two minor things about it. So as you do missions, you will eventually be infected by other Warframes, and you will start growing a cyst on your neck, like a pink cyst on your neck. I believe this all started when Nidus came out. I think that's like the story behind this. I think when Nidus came out, they started doing the whole like spreading the cyst thing. I think he was technically like patient zero, and then he would spread it to other Warframes, and then other Warframes would become contagious and they would spread it to others. And so you'll eventually get a cyst on your neck, and over 6 days, I believe it is, that cyst will mature, and you'll know it's mature because it'll have like a little follicle coming out of it eventually. And then you can go to your incubator and you can drain your cyst in your incubator, and yeah, you can start making your little Helminth Charger there. Now, I think you have to have, well, obviously you have to have an incubator, so you have to do the Howl of the Kubro quest. And I believe you also have to have a Kubro egg available, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So that's how you get a Helminth Charger. Again, I encourage you to look at the wiki, though, just because I might have missed like one or two minor things there. Okay, so the Helminth Charger, what does this guy specialize in? It's a little bit unfortunate. So right now, in the current state of the game, I believe there is no real niche for the Helminth Charger. I feel like he doesn't really serve a purpose in the game currently. However, he's only one fix away. He's only one fix away for DE to fix the Tenacious Bond Hunter synergy, for them to actually work together, for Tenacious Bond to actually recognize the increased crit chance that Hunter synergy provides, for this guy, the Helminth Charger, to finally come into his own and have a niche in the game. And that niche is going to be using him on a Warframe that uses a melee stat stick, and that stat stick uses critical damage as one of its stats that it scales on. Very niche, but I really tried to find a purpose for the Helminth Charger, and that was the only purpose I could find for this little guy. Because normally on a melee build, you're going to use a primer pet. You're going to use like the Dirija. The Dirija is the best melee primer. And so not many things are going to beat Dirija for a melee frame. However, a Warframe that uses a melee stat stick doesn't always or really ever really need a melee primer. And so that's where this dude has his niche, if Tenacious Bond ever gets fixed, unfortunately. Hopefully that happens soon. Tenacious Bond and Hunter Synergy, I should say, that combo. So, okay, let's go into the Big Chungus Helminth Charger here. And we're going to take a look at his mods. He has 3 mods. He has Trample, Proboscis, and Strain Eruption. And if you notice, we only had 1 mod on here. And it's because 2 of them are very bad. So you have Proboscis, which is Helminth Charger whips a Proboscis out at an enemy within 30 meters, pulling them back and dealing 100 damage. This is absolutely garbage. It only hits 1 enemy. It's not incredibly long cooldown, but it's not a short cooldown either. So for this to be like so weak and to still have like a kind of long cooldown, it's complete garbage. This is a complete waste of a mod slot. Trample. The Helminth Charger rushes an enemy, dealing 160 damage to all in its path. It gains plus 10% melee damage, max health, and armor for every enemy hit for 5 seconds. So he doesn't travel very far, so he doesn't hit a lot of enemies. It's only a 5-second buff. companion AI is kind of crappy. So for a 5-second buff, he's maybe hitting like once or twice. So he's only going to get like 1 or 2 hits out of this entire buff. And the max health and armor is like, even if you're building him for a health and armor, which you might not be, you might be building him, for shield and adaptation or for shield gate or something. So like, and even for a health and armor, like, with me right here linking my health and my armor, it's still not really, I don't need this. So it's just kind of a garbage mod. Trample is unfortunately another garbage mod. Okay, then we have Strain Eruption. Oh my goodness, Strain Eruption is extremely intensive. I have an entire slide that explains the strain sets. So when we look at Strain Eruption, we have to start with the bottom. So we're going to start by reading that bottom part. You're going to grow up to X cysts over X seconds that erupt every 25 seconds to spawn a maggot. Those numbers that I said X over are dependent on the amount of strain mods that you have. If you have all 4 strain mods, if I put Strain Eruption on here, it's going to be 8 cysts over 24 seconds. But as I take away strain mods, so at only 1 strain mod, it's 2 cysts. 2 strain mods is 4 cysts. 3 strain mods is 6 cysts. And then 4 is what we're at here with 8. So this could be better or worse depending on how many strain mods you use. Now, for the niche for the Helminth Charger to actually like do something, you really should be using at least 3 of them. Possibly all 4 as well, but at least 3 of them. So Strain Eruption, let's talk about this one specifically. Maggots explode on death, dealing 4% of an enemy's current health as corrosive damage to any enemy within 8 meters. Okay. It's 4% of current health. So that could be very powerful or it could be very weak. If you're looking at an enemy like a level cap 9999 enemy, 4% of his health is actually a lot of friggin' damage. But like a regular enemy, 4% is not really that much. So this is kind of mediocre damage, but it does spread a lot of corrosive. You could probably like mix this and try to make some kind of like a partial armor strip or a full armor strip, maybe by mixing some other stuff with it. But it doesn't happen very often. It's only every 25 seconds he's going to cast off all the cysts. They're going to do their little thing for a few seconds, and then they're going to explode. So it doesn't happen very often. But to fully understand the strain set, we need to look at all of the strain mods. So this is Strain Eruption. This is the one that just does some damage to enemies in an area. Let's look at the next strain mod. The next strain mod goes on the pet's claws. And it's called Strain Fever. Helminth Charger gains plus 40% damage per cyst. Okay, so if we have 8 cysts, that would be 40 times 8. And that's how much damage he gets. That's kind of nice. That's a kind of nice mod there. Not amazing, but kind of nice. All right, let's look at the next strain mod. Now, again, the first one went on the pet. Second one went on the pet claws. The next strain mod goes on your melee weapon. So, and it doesn't matter what melee weapon it is. It's just any melee weapon. But if we look here, it's Strain Infection. Melee attacks gain plus 20% critical damage per cyst. That is very powerful. This is probably the most powerful of the strain mods, is Strain Infection. So, fully stacked up, if you were to have 8 cysts, that's 160% critical damage. So this is pretty good, and it would normally what you would be replacing in a normal build would be Organ Shatter. Like Organ Shatter would be what you would normally run with, and if you were using the strain mods, you would just replace Organ Shatter, because instead of a 90, you would get 160. Obviously bigger number equals betterer. So so that's normally what you would be replacing with Strain Infection, and it would just be a net positive. Now, the downside to this is that you have to have all the other strain mods on, right? And you have to be using the Helminth Charger to have the other strain mods on. Now, on a melee build, normally you're going to be using a Dirige Primer. The Dirige is the best melee primer in the game, and so most complete melee-focused Warframes are going to be using a Dirige Primer. And so there's no real place for the Helminth Charger to replace the Dirige Primer. And that's why I believe the place for the Helminth Charger is actually on a Warframe that's using a melee stat stick, because those Warframes don't always use a Dirija primer. They're free to use like a lot of other things. And so this could give you about another 70 to 80 crit damage, which would just be a net positive on those type of Warframes. But again, it has to be if Tenacious Bond Tenacious Bond works, because losing Tenacious Bond is unfortunately 1.2 crit damage also. So, okay. And then finally, the fourth piece of the Strain set is on the Warframe. This is a little bit unfortunate because not all Warframes are going to have a free slot to put this on. So if we look at Strain Consume, dead maggots within 10 meters are consumed, increasing max health by 4% and increasing health regen by 2 health per second for 45 seconds. This is based on your base health, so this is not like modded health. So it's a little bit less impressive than you would think, but it's okay. I guess it's a thing. So if you only wanted to run with 3 of the Strain mods, this is the one you would not run with, because obviously a Warframe mod slot is very valuable. It's hard to actually make room for Strain Consume. There's only a few Warframes in the game that like have free slots to play around with. So this would be the one that you would probably not run with if you didn't have room for it. Okay, let's go back to the pet here. Gonna put that Strain mod back on. And I have a little slide that I just want to go over real quick. It just kind of breaks everything that I just said down. So these are all 4 of the Strain mods and their effects. And in the white text, I actually have the fully 4 set bonus. So the 4 set bonus with Strain Fever would be plus 320% pet damage. The 4 set bonus with Strain Consume would be plus 32% max HP. Again, that is base HP though, so it's a little bit less impressive than you would think. And the strongest one is Strain Infection, where with the 4 set bonus with 8 cysts, you get 160% crit damage. Strain Eruption, I mean, you still get 8 cysts that blow up and deal 4% of dude's current health, but meh. That's why I didn't really put any number over next to Strain Eruption. Okay, so let's go back to gameplay here. And what we'll do is we'll go into the Simulacrum next, and we're going to show off these abilities. Or the one ability, the Strain mod, basically. The other 2 are complete garbage. I don't even want to show them off.
Where would the sanctuary be without you?
So I have all 4 Strain mods on, so you'll see that he's going to eventually shake off 8 cysts. But while the cysts are on him, I also get buffs too, because some of those buffs or things happened when the maggots came off, but a lot of the stronger ones, like the critical damage buff and the pet damage, happened when the cysts were on him. So let me spawn some enemies in and just make sure you're paying attention to his health bar in the top right and my health bar in the top right, and just notice those buffs that are going to pop up. So he's going to start growing maggots pretty soon here. Here we go. I'm at 20% crit damage. He's at 40% damage for himself. Now I'm at 60. He's at 120. And eventually I'll go up to 160 and he'll go up to 320. So he's almost there. Let's see. I'm at 160. He's at 320. And now he should be shedding off his maggots pretty soon. Boom. There's 8 maggots. They're going to explode for some damage. They're also going to seek out enemies, which I think they all died because of the Contagious Bond mod, unfortunately. Let me put that back on there, and we'll go do it one more time. So you see the buffs in the top right, they're kind of building up there. That the one for me that looks like a viral symbol for some reason is the 160% crit damage. And then the one for him is the 320 melee damage for him. And he just shed off the 8 maggots, and they're going to run around, and they're going to try to attach to enemies, and then they're going to explode for 4% of enemy current health. and do some corrosive procs. So, all right, that's the abilities there. Now we're going to go over the mods. All right, and these two are actually optional, so I'm going to take those off, and we'll just talk about these two slots when we get to it here. So we're going to start with 2 survivability mods. This is going to be dependent on the Warframe you pick. I'm playing an Inaros, so it makes sense for me to use Link Vitality and Link Fiber to link my health and to link my armor. Now, if you were playing a shield and adaptation Warframe, like Shield Harrow or Hildren, you would be not wanting to link your armor. You would be wanting to link your shields. And this is what it would look like. It would look like Link Redirection for linking your shields and Link Vitality for linking your health. The other way for a shield and adaptation Warframe to set them up is not linking your health. You keep linking your shields, and you use Hasten Deflection instead. Hasten Deflection is going to give you a shield recharge and negative shield recharge delay so that you have a better time shield gating with your pet. Okay? And those 2 ways are how you would build out a your Helminth Charger for a shield and adaptation Warframe. Now, not all Warframes are health and armor, and not all Warframes are shield and adaptation Warframes. Some Warframes are shield gating Warframes, and shield gating Warframes have really bad stats, and so you don't want to be linking the bad stats that your Warframe has. So instead, you would be using the regular mods. You would be using Enhanced Vitality, Metal Fiber, and Calculated Redirection. And you can kind of decide which ones you want to use there. You could also still use Link Redirection, or not Link Redirection, I'm sorry. You could also still use the Deflection mod, which I don't know where the hell it went. Yeah, you can still use Hasten Deflection and then just like maybe use one of the brown mods here. Okay, let me put back on my Fiber and my Vitality. In the next slot, we're going to be using Synth Deconstruct. Enemies injured by the companion have a 25% chance to drop a health orb when killed. So this combos incredibly well with the Warframe mod Equilibrium, and it also is good if you just need extra health. Maybe you just need an extra way to heal. Now, if neither of those 2 things are for you, if you're not using Equilibrium and you don't really need an extra way to heal, then you don't need to use Synth Deconstruct. You can actually take this off and you could have room for something else. All right, next we have Strain Eruption. We already went over this. Primed Animal Instinct is Loot Radar and Enemy Radar. Fetch is what's going to scoop your loot up for you. And then we're going to have Contagious Bond and the Duplex Bond combo, which are both very good status spreaders. So Contagious Bond is when your companion kills an enemy afflicted with a status effect, 50% of the status effect spreads to other enemies within 9 meters. So in the Simulacrum, if you noticed when everyone just kind of died, that was Contagious Bond proccing. So he puts a bunch of big heat procs, big slash procs on a single dude, and then when he dies, those get spread, and when another dies, they get spread more, and then it ends up becoming like a big nuke. So that's why Contagious Bond is very powerful. Duplex Bond is also a very good status spreader also, because as you spend energy, you're creating clones of your guy, and those little clones are still whacking dudes and spreading statuses too. So Duplex Bond and Contagious Bond, extremely good status spreaders. Okay. Then we get into these 2 slots here. Now, one mod that should be in this slot is Tenacious Bond. However, this does not work currently on this pet. They need to fix the Hunter synergy with Tenacious Bond. So Tenacious Bond, how this activates is that your companion has to have a weapon that has a critical chance over 50%. Well, with Bite and with Hunter Synergy, our pet has a critical chance of 54%. However, currently, they kind of screwed this up a little bit, I think like a few patches ago, but Tenacious Bond doesn't recognize the increased critical from Hunter Synergy. It only recognizes the increased critical from Bite. So it's only recognizing that my Helminth Charger has 32% critical chance for some reason instead of the over 50. So Tenacious Bond does not get activated. And this one reason is why the Helminth Charger currently doesn't serve a purpose, because he the strain set increases your crit damage, but you have to jump through a lot of hoops for that increased crit damage. Tenacious Bond is like one mod. You get 1.2 final crit damage multiplier with one mod that you don't have to jump through hoops for, other than increasing the critical on your weapon, which usually is easy. So for that reason, until they fix this, when they fix Tenacious Bond, now we're getting 1.2 final crit damage here, and we're getting up to 160% critical damage from the Strain set. So when they fix Tenacious Bond, hopefully, you'll be able to use this and get both of those effects, and you have a gigantic crit damage increase. Now, again, that's not going to beat, on a pure melee Warframe, it's not going to beat a Dirige Primer. But some casting Warframes have stat sticks that are based on your melee weapon. And so they're not going to be using a melee primer. They're just going to be casting, but some of their stats are affected by crit damage, for instance. So that's where I think the Helminth Charger has his niche, but that niche is not going to come into play until they fix this right here. So right now, Tenacious Bond is not an option, unfortunately. But if you're from the future, and they have fixed this interaction with Tenacious Bond and Hunter Synergy, absolutely. Put Tenacious Bond here, and then you would have, a flex slot for this empty slot here. So, in the meantime, though, let's try to think of some things that might be okay in these two slots. So if we type in Bond, we have, where was it? Tandem Bond? Tandem Bond was pretty good. So again, this is going to synergize with stat sticks. Some stat sticks have a hard time maintaining a 12 times unless you're using a certain weapon, or unless the pseudo exalt that the stat stick is affecting keeps its own combo count up, right? Like Atlas, for instance. Atlas's landslide can keep its own combo count up, so you don't really need Tandem Bond for that. But certain stat sticks won't be able to. They have a harder time. And so Tandem Bond could be very good for them. And then obviously, again, Tenacious Bond in this slot here. Otherwise, Vicious Bond is also pretty good. I mean, this is just like a minor armor strip. It's okay. So you can consider those two for these two slots. And then the other thing to consider right now, just because a lot of that stuff is not working, is just a Retriever mod. So a Retriever mod will just give you some more loot. If you need more resource pickups, you use Resourceful Retriever. If you need more credit pickups, you use Prosperous Retriever. And if you need both credit and resources, you use Loyal Retriever. It's a bit less of a percentage. It's 13 instead of 18, but you get both of those items. So those are possibilities to go here, but again, for a stat stick, you really want to be using that Tenacious Bond whenever they fix that. Okay, Helminth Claws. We're going to go over here. They really did the Helminth Charger dirty, because another thing I want you guys to realize, and the Helminth Charger, I thought it was considered a Kubro, right? Because if you look at the Predicites are actually considered Kubros, even though they're not Kubros. And I was like, oh, maybe the Helminth Charger is going to be considered a Kubro too. And the cool thing with Kubros is they can use the Mecha set, and the Mecha set is really powerful. But let me go ahead and type in Mecha here. Oh, nothing comes up. Maybe I'll type in Kubro. Oh, nothing comes up. So the Helminth Charger was done dirty. He can't even use the Mecha set that the Predicites and the Kubros can use. So yeah, it kind of sucks. All right. So something unique with the Helminth Charger is that he has this unique trait here, where he gets an innate plus 25% toxin damage independent from any other element types. So normally mods like Burning Claws will change all of the elements, or elements, not physical elements, but the regular elements, to turn into heat. Well, because of this special effect, he retains toxin. So this guy actually has three elements on his status chart here, which is kind of cool. It's interesting. It's not like amazing, but it's interesting. Okay, for that posture, we're going to be going for Assassin posture. So the Helminth Charger is going to be using the Bellringer Magnetic Strike combo, and he's not a Vulpaphyla and he's not a Kavat, so he doesn't get to use the swipe mod. And so for Vulpaphylas and Kavats that use swipe, Protector posture is really powerful. But if you can't use swipe, then Assassin posture is super, super powerful. So that's why we're going with Assassin posture. We're using Bite for critical chance and critical damage. We're using Maul for melee damage. We're using Precision Conditioning for melee damage. We're using Burning Claws for 330 heat and 330 status chance. The other thing to consider in the claw slot is using shocking claws. This is a little bit dependent if you're using Archon stretch or not on your Warframe, so this is a little bit more like combo wombo focused. If you didn't really care about combos, Burning Claws will be slightly more damage. Hunter Synergy is next here, and this is the one that pisses me off, because if you look, our pet, his weapon has a 54% critical chance, so this really should be activating Tenacious Bond. But currently, Tenacious Bond does not recognize this, and so all Tenacious Bond actually sees is this, 32%. So hopefully they eventually fix this, the synergy between those two. But we have Hunter Synergy here. This is going to be plus 30% primary weapon critical chance added to your companion. So obviously this is dependent on your primary weapon. If you're using a primary weapon that has absolutely garbage crit chance, you probably don't want to use Hunter Synergy. But even with a weapon that is like middle, like moderate crit chance, I'm using the Grokata right now, which is very moderate in the middle crit chance, it's still worth using. So unless you're using a weapon with absolute garbage, then don't use this. But otherwise you would use this. Okay, in the slot that we would normally use a mecha mod, we're using the strain mod, so that's okay. We don't really have to think too much about like what to remove because we're not able to use the mecha set. So strain mod goes right here. And then finally we have the Bellringer Magnetic Strike combo. So Bellringer is melee attacks, knock down enemies, and apply 4 impact status effects. And Magnetic Strike is 100% chance to apply a magnetic proc when inflicting an impact proc. So his impacts will become magnetics. So that's how you build out the Helminth Claws. That is kind of how you build out the Helminth Charger. Again, they really need to fix that because that would actually give this a purpose. And yeah, I mean, for this guy to be viable, you also really need to be using at least 3 of those strain mods. If you can use all 4, that's great. But the one on your Warframe is like, I mean, it's hard to actually like, you know, find a slot on your Warframe for a strain mod. So if you only wanted to use 3 of them, take the one off on your Warframe. So I was really trying to find a use case for this little Helminth Charger here, but I think that could be a use case if they fix that combo. So tell me what you guys think, but that's the video there. If you guys like the video, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right.